Forget New Year, New You. This season is about slowing down, locking the doors, and cozying up at home with the one you really want to do nothing with. Your dog. After the holiday chaos, those quiet nights with a blanket, a podcast, and your pup feel like the reset you actually need. Ollie helps make those moments easier with fresh protein-packed meals made from real human-grade ingredients, so your dog can enjoy some quality comfort food too. Choose from 5 recipes and get a personalized plan for your dog's needs. Meals arrive perfectly proportioned with a scoop and storage container, so serving is fast and mess-free. And with Ollie's in-app on-demand health screenings, supporting your dog is easy, ensuring more cuddles for many years to come. Visit ollie.com/truecrime and use code TRUECRIME for 60% off your first box.
This episode contains disturbing testimony about victims, some of whom are children. Listener discretion is advised. Celebration, Florida. This cheerfully named town was originally developed by the Walt Disney Company. Disney eventually sold off its stake in the city, although you can still feel the magic today since Disney World is a 10-minute drive away. The crime rate is low in Celebration, and the property values are high. Picturesque and charming, Celebration is the kind of city that belongs on the front of a postcard. There are palm tree-lined streets with cute shops and houses with big front porches overlooking a lake. It's a small city that's home to about 11,000 people. And that's the setting for today's episode, where on January 13th, 2020, investigators discovered a grisly crime scene. Anthony Todt was on the radar of authorities. They had been watching him. He had an active federal warrant out for his arrest for financial crimes. While conducting surveillance, investigators saw Anthony, a middle-aged physical therapist, sitting on his front porch. He then went back inside his 2-story condo. He was alone. They didn't see his wife, Megan, or his 3 children, Alec, Tyler, or Zoe, or the family's small dog. Later that day, Orange County Sheriff's deputies made contact. They knocked on the Todt family home in Celebration. Nobody answered when they announced themselves. The front door was unlocked, so they went in. They instantly smelled a terrible odor, which one deputy identified as the smell of a dead body. It was strong enough they could smell it from downstairs when they first walked into the house. At first, the only person law enforcement could see was Anthony. Something was clearly wrong with him. He stood on the staircase, mumbling and shaking, unsteady on his feet. Investigators would later discover that the reason why he was incoherent was because he had drank a large amount of Benadryl in a suicide attempt. Osceola County Deputy Christopher Boos described what happened next.
Once Mr. Todt came down to the bottom of the stairwell, maybe a minute or two of some conversation, then I made my way up the stairwell.
What was that conversation consistent of?
I asked Mr. Todt if his wife was at the house. He stated that she was upstairs sleeping. I asked, I believe, if there was any children in the residence. His statement was somewhere along the lines, I'm not sure if they're at a friend's house sleeping over.
He went upstairs and into the primary bedroom.
I could see inside of the door, I could see the bed, and there was a silhouette of a person that was laying on the bed, but they were fully covered up with blankets.
Did you see anything on the floor?
Yes. Once we entered the bedroom, pushed the door all the way open. It was a fairly large master bedroom. On the floor were 2 mattresses that were side by side. Also, there was a body on one mattress, a body on the other mattress. They were also covered with blankets.
The officers searched the room's bathroom and closet before turning their attention to the other rooms on the floor. One door was locked, so they kicked it in, but there was nothing in there. They went back to the primary bedroom and made another discovery in their second search.
At the foot of the bed, there was a pile of blankets that were piled up. We started kind of peeling the blankets apart, and that's where we located the juvenile female.
Investigators found the remains of the family dog later. In the town of Celebration, it was an unthinkable crime. A mother and 3 children, Alec 13, Tyler 11, and Zoe 4, and their dog Breezy were dead. The 4 family members had been deceased for several weeks, wrapped in blankets inside the condo. Investigators confirmed their identities by comparing their dental records because their bodies were badly decomposed. Anthony had been living with their corpses for several weeks. How had this tragedy unfolded? What went on in the Celebration home? You will hear from Anthony through interviews with detectives throughout this episode as he tried to give answers. And later, a trial where Anthony speaks once again.
The reason why we're here today is control. The defendant wanted control.
This is Jillian, and in partnership with Law and Crime, you are listening to Court Junkie, episode 208. It was almost Christmas time. Florida felt like paradise then. The temperatures were perfect. The Todt family seemed to be getting ready to celebrate the holidays. They left behind clues of their final days as a living, breathing family as authorities searched the crime scene. Christmas presents, kids' toys, wrapped in red paper, a bicycle still in a box, a new dollhouse for Zoe, and fishing lures for fishing trips that were never going to happen now. The loss was immeasurable for those who loved the Todt family. There didn't seem to be any warning signs, since the Todts didn't have any prior abuse history in Florida or Connecticut, where they had once lived. Family, friends, and neighbors mourned them on both sides of the country. In Celebration, neighbors held a candlelight vigil, and a bagpipe played Amazing Grace. Back in Connecticut, where Anthony and Megan were originally from, hundreds attended a funeral for the family. Parents struggled to explain the tragedy to their children, who didn't understand why their classmates and teammates had died. Had Anthony Todt killed his family? Children in the neighborhood were traumatized, one of the Todt's family members said in court. It made them think the horrible thought. What if their parents ever tried to hurt them, too?
The children would ask their fathers, "Are you going to kill me at some time? Do you think you're going to kill me?" Because the children were, Megan's kids were just so fun-loving and giving and loved all their friends and they came to the house. They did all kinds of things together. Went in the little playground areas and climbed things and slid and played games. And that's a lot of trauma for children.
42-year-old Megan Todt sounded like the perfect mom from what her family described in her obituary. She baked from scratch and used organic ingredients from food she grew in her garden. Just like her husband, she was a physical therapist by trade. She also sang and played music, a gift of music her 3 children inherited from her. Her entire being was encompassed in her motherhood, and she did whatever she could do to support her family, her obituary said.
I just want to say that Megan lived her life. She had lots of empathy for everyone, and she had a giving heart. If her neighbors were sick, she would make them soup and bring it over.
In photographs, Megan grinned broadly, looking content as she cradled her daughter, while her 2 sons wrapped their arms around her. She looked happy, and so did her children. Out of the 3 children, Alec was the oldest at age 13. He had striking blue eyes and a fascination for history, especially World War I, his obituary said. He had a variety of hobbies. One minute, he played goalkeeper on his soccer team. The next, he played piano or violin. 11-year-old Tyler was the comedian in the family. He was carefree and loved to laugh, according to his obituary. He was intellectually gifted and liked learning math and playing folk songs on the guitar. And then there was the baby of the family, Princess Zoe, as everyone called her. 4-year-old Zoe had a strong-willed personality that came from being the only girl with 2 older brothers. She was eager to start her ballet lessons. She also had a musical spirit and wasn't shy about playing her harmonica all around the house, her obituary said. The obituary also paid tribute to Breezy, the small dog the family had owned since 2014. Everyone loved Breezy with a full heart and with unconditional love, it read. Breezy went everywhere with the family and served them well as their loyal and faithful companion. Growing up in Connecticut, Anthony and Megan were high school sweethearts and both attended Sacred Heart University together. They married each other young after Anthony graduated college and Megan was still a junior. Years later, in 2005, they bought the condo in Celebration when they both worked as traveling physical therapists. Around 2016 or 2017, Megan and the children had relocated to Celebration permanently, while during the week, Anthony ran his physical therapy practice back in Connecticut. He showered at the gym and slept in his office. Then on weekends, he flew down to Florida to spend time with his wife and children. It was a life in motion and sometimes in disarray. Regularly buying plane tickets to travel across the country and renting cars in Florida was an expensive way to live for Anthony, who was financially in over his head. He was drowning in money problems. At the beginning of the episode, I said Anthony was under surveillance and a federal warrant was out for his arrest, which had led authorities to their home. Here's why Anthony was a wanted man. He was under investigation for running a fraud at his physical therapy practices. According to federal court documents, Anthony operated a healthcare fraud scheme from his Connecticut business, Family Physical Therapy, for years. He billed both the federal government through Medicaid and private health insurance companies for hundreds of hours of care that he never actually provided to patients. He allegedly stole more than $130,000. And so Anthony seemed to need cash, badly. He appeared to be stealing money at the same time he took out loans or advances from 20 different commercial lenders for his business between January 2015 and June 2018. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services was onto Anthony's scheme. In November 2019, agents obtained federal search warrants for his 2 business offices in Connecticut. They seized patient files, paper records, and electronic devices. Anthony was forthcoming with them. He admitted he was billing for services he didn't provide and said he started adding stuff randomly when he billed some of his patients, according to the affidavit. He took out loans because it was easier, he said, and then he started fraudulently billing to keep pace with the growing debt from the loans. An agent asked him if he was living outside of his means. That's the best way to put it, Anthony said. Did Megan or anyone else at his business know what was going on? No, only me, Anthony insisted. He wanted to plead guilty. Anthony also wanted an attorney, he told the agents. But no attorney representing Anthony ever reached out to the federal agents throughout November 2019. They contacted Anthony on December 4th, and Anthony said he was still in the process of getting an attorney. Anthony's physical therapy practices fell apart. By late 2019, Anthony stopped traveling back to Connecticut to see patients, so he remained in Florida with his family. Meanwhile, his employees' paychecks bounced and they stopped going into work. Anthony fell behind on rent. The 2 family physical therapy offices in Connecticut closed. You can hear Anthony speaking about the state of his finances after he had been arrested, upon the grisly discovery of his family. Anthony is being interviewed by an Osceola County Sheriff's detective. This has nothing to do with the finances, he said, about why his family was dead.
obviously it's been brought up that your finances are a mess.
They're a mess, yeah.
Does Megan actually know the complexity of your financial mess?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Does she know about why the feds were at your house on Monday?
The feds were at our house on Monday.
Does she know about the investigation from up north?
Oh, yeah. About the business and everything, yes.
You sure?
Yes.
Okay. Because they don't even know if they knew that, if she knew that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
She knew.
Okay. So I'm not going to question you about anything to do why they were at you or anything like that. My life, we crossed paths on Monday. Okay. I don't have never heard of you before that. All right.
This had nothing to do with the finances, though.
Okay. And that was kind of my...
This has something to do with the fact that because with the transition and the apocalypse coming towards the end of the days, coming the end of December, we needed to make this transition because by the end of December, this is when this was supposed to happen.
The apocalypse and everything by the end of December. Mm-hmm. Okay.
The reason they were gone, he said, was because of the apocalypse. With a federal investigation underway and Anthony's business in ruins in late 2019, one of Anthony's relatives was worried because he had suddenly gone quiet. Anthony had stopped communicating. He had promised to come back to Connecticut to deal with his legal problems, but he never followed through. His sister, Chrissy, who lives in Connecticut, was so concerned she called the Osceola County Sheriff's Office twice. Her first call was on December 29, 2019, weeks before the discovery of the bodies. You can hear the concern in the voice of Anthony's sister on the call.
I'm wondering if somebody can do a wellness check on my brother and his family. They've been really sick for probably like the past week and a half, and I can't seem to get a hold of them. Yeah, they've been really sick. I guess they've had the flu, but they've had the flu probably for a couple weeks. They were really down and out during Christmas. The only one we've been able to talk to is my brother, and now, like I said, we can't get hold of any of them.
The wellness checks likely did little to ease her worries. The deputy couldn't find Anthony anywhere. He went twice and left his business card, but no one ever called him or answered the door when he knocked. The blinds were closed. There weren't any signs of life. Anthony's sister called 911 again 2 weeks later, on January 10, 2020. By then, she knew her brother was in trouble with the feds because of the healthcare fraud investigation.
I had actually called on December 29th, and I had an officer go out because I was concerned. My brother and his family, they had all been sick. But there's actually been more developments. There's actually an active... And I just in conversations with my sister, my sister-in-law was making a comment about, we just kind of put it all together about basically the world ending on the 28th, and nobody has talked to them. Nobody physically talked to my sister-in-law since the 26th of December, and my brother has stopped texting as of Monday. So they think the world is ending, and you're worried they're going to because of a lot of stuff that's been happening, that there could be something a little bit more happening.
Again, a deputy went to the Celebration condo on January 10th and January 11th, 2020. There were no cars parked out front. The blinds were still closed. No one answered the door. The earlier business cards from the prior deputy's visits were still tucked in the door. Anthony's sister had received text messages from Megan's phone mentioning the end of the world. What exactly was going on? While in custody, Anthony spoke with a pair of deputies from the Osceola County Sheriff's Office and confessed to killing his family. He was conspiratorial and paranoid, but also steadfast in his beliefs. During the interview, Anthony opened up about the demons he dealt with since his childhood, when he said he witnessed something horrific. The interview started with the detective asking Anthony how he was doing after he had been treated at the hospital. Anthony wore what appears to be a white inmate jumpsuit and wasn't wearing shoes, just socks. His hands were handcuffed.
How do you feel right now?
Regarding health-wise?
Yeah, I mean,
I feel very sad and very upset that I'm still here. And
yeah. Is there somewhere else you'd rather be?
With my family on the other side.
On the other side?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you do know your wife and children are deceased?
Yes, and that's where I want to be.
That's where you want to be? Okay.
Anthony told the detectives that Megan was chronically ill and had had a miscarriage. She wasn't well, he said. She had started watching videos about the apocalypse and shared them with him. He said the more they watched and the more they researched, the more they were convinced the world was ending. He said they talked about how they could keep their family together in the afterlife.
So, because my wife's been chronically ill for a while, this really appealed to her. And because it appealed to me also, because she wouldn't be in any pain, family wouldn't be separated. Mm-hmm. There would be no more sorrow, no more heartbreaking, no more anything. It would be a salvation and everlasting life. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we kept doing our research, reading up things, meditating, and decided that, yeah, this should be a thing. This should be what we should do.
He said he and Megan sat down and talked with the kids about how they would feel if Mommy and Daddy died. He said their responses were, "We don't want you to die. We want to die with you."
So we were coming up with different things of how we could do this. We didn't know how we could do this because we're not violent people. Okay? Not violent people at all. First we said, what if we started reading different things. There's something came on TV about cough medicine. Okay? Mm-hmm. So could they have some cough medicine that will put them to sleep, like overdose of cough medicine, just put them to sleep. Mm-hmm. And by a peaceful death. Mm-hmm. Okay? So my wife made a pudding pie, jello pie, froze it. Nothing happened.
He said they went to the pharmacy at the Publix grocery store and asked the pharmacist what kind of medicine was good for sleeping issues. That's the medicine they bought and what Megan used in her pudding pie, he said.
Were the children really that receptive to it? Were they that understanding of this pact from the beginning?
They could only understand to a certain point because they were children.
Correct.
Okay.
But I'm saying 13 and 11. I mean, I have some...
They could only understand to a certain point where they're children. Okay. We explained to them and wanted to get their feelings about the aspect of, if Mommy and Daddy die, if Mommy and Daddy take their own lives, get their feedback. And their constant response with different skews of the question was they want to be with us.
Anthony explained how they planned for their murder-suicide pact. He said they started researching before Halloween. They learned that the best stuff to use was the stuff found in Benadryl, but it didn't work. He said finally, they decided they were just going to have to bleed to death.
And so we started researching where would be the easiest to stab to do so the kids could bleed to death, maybe in combination with the sleep drug. Okay. And that's how everything led up to be. Okay.
So that's through research. Mm-hmm. You guys have found. Now you're saying you and your wife did this together?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I'm not going to play the full interview because, as you know, I don't like covering grisly details, especially involving crimes against children. But in his interview with detectives, Anthony confessed to murdering his children sometime before Christmas, late one night. He said he killed them one by one. He said it took him hours to get up the nerve to kill his 4-year-old daughter. I needed to save her soul, he said. Then he suffocated her. He covered her up with blankets so she was warm. He told the deputies that Megan held Alex's feet down while he killed him. And while he killed Tyler, Megan stood outside the door doing meditations. He said he suffocated and stabbed both boys.
So now all the children are gone. How long until the sun comes up?
I don't know. It might be about 5 o'clock in the morning. Around that time.
Was the sun coming up like part of a rule or anything like that? Because you mentioned it a couple times that Megan told you that you have to do this before the sun comes up. Is there a reasoning behind that?
I don't know why the reasoning was behind that, but it had to be done before the sun came up, yes.
Okay. So it's nothing during your research or investigations or anything like that has...
Nothing per mine. I don't know if it was on her side, research or whatnot.
Okay.
I was just told this needed to be done before the sun came up.
Okay. All right. So they're all deceased. What do you guys do?
Go up to the bedroom. Just started talking. How do we want to... the kids are dead. What do we want to do now? What's going on? What's our next step? What are we going to do?
You mean this wasn't planned?
It was planned, but it was like just a dog. Did she want to go first? Because there was some discussion of me going first and her staying last. Her going first. She wasn't sure which one she wanted to do.
Anthony said he then suffocated and killed the dog. After that, he said Megan and Anthony were prepared to kill themselves. Megan drank wine and took Tylenol PM. She then stabbed herself in the stomach, Anthony said. 45 minutes later, she was frustrated that it was taking too long and took Benadryl.
And she was like, this has got to be done. This is taking too long. This is ridiculous. I'm like, shall we go on, look at different other aspects to do this? How do you want to do this? She goes, I want this ended now. What does that mean? She goes, I want you to take the pillowcase, put a pillow, and put it over my head. I said, I don't know if I can do that. And she looked at me, she goes, if you love me, you can do this. I want to be with my babies. And so, and she just looked at me, she goes, you're strong enough, you can do it. Okay. So I said, why don't you take some more Benadryl, so at least you're not going to fight me, and I'll do it. So she took some more Benadryl, and maybe about 15 minutes later, I came back in the room. I said, "You still want to do this?" And she talked to me like that, very far out. Yeah, get it done.
Anthony said Megan wanted him to suffocate her, so he did. He said he laid in bed with her body the first night he was alone in the house. He checked on his children, covering them in blankets to make sure they were comfortable and warm. He then lived in the condo for more than 2 weeks. He said he slept next to Megan's body or on the floor in the primary bedroom. He set up air purifiers. There was sage in the room to help the spirits pass on. Anthony said he tried to kill himself, but his attempts failed. He went out and did errands to get more Benadryl and food.
So there was like a pile of boxes and stuff like near the door? Were those like presents or what in the world was all that?
Pile of boxes near the door.
Yeah. So people at the scene were telling me that there was it appeared like almost like Christmas presents. Did the kids get to open Christmas presents?
No, they weren't alive for Christmas.
They were not alive for Christmas.
Anthony was adamant he had stabbed his sons before they had died, which contradicted the medical examiner's report.
Some of the evidence noted and some of the injuries that were noted are consistent with some of your statements.
Okay.
So there are ways, I don't know how much training and education stuff that you have as far as in the medical field. I know you said you're a physical therapist. Blood flow, we spoke of earlier, right? Mm-hmm. So do you understand that when a person is dead, their heart is not pumping?
Yes.
We're all under the same agreement on that. Which means that if there's an injury to a person, like say a stab wound, they would be able to tell, all right, if there's no blood that is being pumped at the time of that injury. Okay. Which would make that wound post-mortem.
Okay.
After the person has been deceased, after the person has been killed.
Okay.
So, looking back on things, the boys.
Yep.
Are you sure that you stabbed them prior to them being deceased?
Yes. 100% sure, without a doubt.
Okay. So if a doctor, medical examiner, tells you that the wounds, or tells me are done post-mortem,
Mm-hmm.
what would you say to that?
Absolutely correct.
Throughout the interview, the lead detective spoke in an even keel voice. It was clear he made Anthony feel comfortable so that Anthony spoke freely, answering whatever questions he was asked. Rarely did the detective show any emotion about the horrors he had witnessed inside the home. But here's one exchange that seemed to be the closest he got to showing the emotional impact of working the case.
So I had the unfortunate task of attending autopsies yesterday. Yeah. It's part of my job. However, everyone is not easy to go through, especially children. All right. I have children of my own, so I often think of mine when I see other children like that. And lots of stuff runs through my head. Sorry. Okay.
After the rest of his family had died, Anthony said he communicated with relatives back east who were checking in on them. Anthony told them he was busy looking at buying physical therapy practices or that the family was at the beach. He was annoyed, he told the detective, that one of his sisters wouldn't stay out of his business. Investigators asked Anthony if his relatives could get photographs of the children.
They could have anything they want.
Okay. They love you. They don't understand everything that took place. They are angry. They're hurt. But they're going to hold on to the memories and everything that they've had. And they want to remember the brother before all of this. Okay. So they looked up to you and they admired and everything for you. Is there any messages or anything like that that you want me to relay to them? Because I will speak with them today.
Just tell them that I love them, but this was the decision our family made to do.
Anthony told them he wasn't going to hide behind lawyers, that this is just what had happened.
You're right. You spoke on the other day. You walked to a beat of a different drum or something like that. Mm-hmm. You as the family. Absolutely. I mean, you're going to be judged by society on certain things that you've done and a lot of stuff, and whether you care or not, that's up to you. Even by your own family.
That's fine. They don't need to understand everything we did.
Correct.
Megan and I were on the same page. We knew what we needed to do. We did it.
Okay.
Anthony was asked when the last time he spoke to his father was. He said he didn't know. The Hartford Courant newspaper reported a stunning revelation. As Anthony confessed to murdering his family, 40 years earlier, Anthony's father had stood trial for trying to kill Anthony's mother. Anthony was just about 4 years old when it happened. According to the Courant, he heard his mother scream before she was shot in the middle of the night. Robert Todt was convicted of attempted murder in a trial held outside Philadelphia. Robert, a teacher, had hired a student to kill his wife, Loretta. After the trial, Robert always maintained his innocence. Anthony's mother survived the shooting. She stood by Robert initially, but then she divorced him and remarried, so Anthony had a stepfather growing up. For decades, Robert Todt's attempt to murder his wife seemed like a closed chapter, an incredibly traumatic time that the rest of the family had lived through and moved past, the article said, until, according to police, Anthony Todt grew up to follow in his father's footsteps. In German, the word Tod, translated into English, means death. That was a fact Anthony's defense team didn't want brought up at his trial. Detectives were aware of Anthony's family history when they interviewed him. He was angry at his dad. Robert was nothing but a sperm donor, he told them.
When we lived in Pennsylvania, my sperm donor had hired two of his high school kids to come in and kill my mother in the middle of the night. I had thought it was him coming home late, because he had one or another girlfriend going on. As I turned the corner, I saw my mom getting shot. She still lives with a bullet in her head, false eye. And
you said it was the person who shot her was your biological father?
It was my sperm donor's kids. My biological father's special ed's kids. Taught special ed. He taught.
So someone he had hired to kill your mother?
Yeah.
Where's he at now?
He got out of jail 5 years. He's in Massachusetts now. Don't fucking leave me alone.
He still reaches out to you?
And harasses us, yes.
And a what?
And harasses us, yes.
Harasses you. Did any of that lead you down the path that you've chosen in life? No?
Other than the fact I want to become a physical therapist because that's what helped my mother.
Really?
From jail, Anthony wrote his father a long 27-page letter. He didn't address the letter to his dad, but to Robert, since the two had been estranged for a long time. In the June 19th, 2020 letter, Anthony wrote this, quote, I have recently been released off of suicide watch, as I was placed due to the circumstances, horrific as they were, in December 2019, that the media and the sheriff's department here are making me out to be the next Butcher of Baghdad. Thanks to counseling here, the chaplain services, and my sister, I'm beginning to resemble the proud man I was prior to the incident which shattered me beyond comprehensible ways. Anthony wrote that he wanted to, quote, correct all the inaccuracies created and generated by the creative writing machine to sell papers and the sheriff's department who want to score a big win after screwing up a prior murder case. I am 10,000% innocent of all the preposterous charges, both on this state case and the proposed Medicaid fraud case, Anthony wrote. He then said it was Megan who had killed the children. Long story short, she gave them the Benadryl/Tylenol PM pie, separated them, woke up at 11:30 p.m., stabbed and then suffocated each one, Anthony wrote. He insisted his dad keep the letter private, although the state attorney's office was clearly reading it and collected a copy into evidence. Anthony wrote that to remember his family, he wanted to start a nonprofit called Matt's B 2019, Alive and at Peace. The acronym stood for the first initials of Megan, Alec, Tyler, Zoe, and Breezy. I know that I need to work on the name, he wrote. He ended the 27-page letter with a P.S. He had uploaded his son's prior performances onto YouTube, if their grandfather wanted to check them out. Prosecutors were also listening in on Anthony's phone calls while he awaited trial. He called his sister regularly. He told her he couldn't remember anything.
Hey.
What's up, G-Stuff?
It's good to hear your voice.
I've been held in isolation. I still am. I'm making this phone call under direction and supervision.
No, I get it.
No, it's beyond what I can explain right now.
No, trust me. So just, high level. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm in a isolation cell, wearing a vest only for the past at least 6 weeks, they've been telling me. I don't remember anything pretty much over Christmas and the first week I got here. I don't remember coming here. I don't remember anything. After the events, what happened, all that kind of stuff. I have no idea where I was, where I am, and the only thing I remember is being at the hospital, I guess I assumed before I got here, and I remember them talking about charcoal, 5th floor, and catheter, and that's all I remember. And I remember waking up here and seeing one of the officers that I've become pretty close with. Other than that, I have no idea anything.
I'm very, very worried about you.
Anthony also told his sister, I couldn't stop this because I wasn't there, according to media reports. Anthony's sister regularly assured him that she loved him, but his arrest, of course, upset the family. They were processing what had happened and were angry at him.
Let me be honest, Tony. Like, I am not happy that we're here. Like, I love you dearly. I love you very, very much. But I'm still very angry that we're here, like right here in this mess, because there's so many things that could have been done differently. And we can't, again, we'll have to deal with that later. But, I said to you, you're my brother, and I'm here for you because I love you. I still fucking figure all this out. There's so much explanations that are owed, and we'll get there. But we just, everybody's just getting through it differently, and it's going to take time,
After authorities found the bodies on January 13th, 2020, Anthony Todt was Baker Acted, which in Florida is when someone is considered at risk for harming themselves. They're then taken into an involuntary hold for up to 72 hours to get emergency mental health services. Before his trial, a hearing was held to determine how much of his mental health would be allowed to be brought up. The defense argued that Anthony's Baker Act was relevant because after he was taken to the hospital and seen by doctors, he was interviewed by law enforcement several times. That's when he gave one of the recorded confessions you heard earlier. If he was mentally unwell and recovering after taking a significant amount of Benadryl, how voluntary were those statements he made to the detectives? Was Anthony mentally capable of knowing what he was actually saying and what he was doing? But prosecutors said that since Anthony was pleading not guilty and his defense didn't plan on invoking an insanity plea, the jury shouldn't hear about his mental health status, nor the Baker Act during trial.
So based upon the case law, the state's position is that any evidence about the defendant's mental health status, diminished capacity, or any evidence of Baker Acts would be irrelevant and would mislead the jury. In this particular case, the state would be asking the court to exclude that type of evidence.
The judge ruled in favor of the prosecution. The judge also ruled that prosecutors wouldn't be allowed to mention the fraud case against Anthony. His defense had argued the federal indictment had no connection to the killings. It's worth noting the federal fraud complaint was later dismissed because prosecutors said they wanted his criminal trial to proceed expeditiously and without undue concern or complications. The defense also filed a motion to prohibit prosecutors from showing photographs of Megan's and the children's bodies during the trial. Photographs of the deceased victims are shocking and unduly prejudicial, they argued. But the judge ruled against the defense's motion. The jury was going to see photographs of the bodies. Jury selection got underway in April 2022. By then, more than 2 years had passed since the deaths of Megan and her children. During jury selection, the jurors were asked if they had strong religious beliefs or if they thought one religion was superior to others, according to the Orlando Sentinel. They were asked if they heard about the case in the media or if they had pets. Some potential jurors said they didn't know if they could be fair and impartial because the victims included children. "I'm a dad of a 4-year-old and I find it difficult," one man said, according to the Sentinel. But a jury was soon chosen and the trial moved forward. In next week's episode, we're covering that trial as Anthony Todt took the stand and gave emotional testimony, insisting that he was innocent and that Megan was to blame.
I came home and my kids were dead. It was the most horrible day of my life.
That's next week in part 2. And that's all for this episode. This episode was researched and written by Gabrielle Russon. To hear these episodes without the ads or to hear additional Court Junkie bonus episodes, check out my Patreon options by going to courtjunkie.com/support. And be sure to check out the trailer for Court Junkie's new podcast, Civil. where we cover civil cases and trials. You can find that by doing a search for Civil Court Junkie on your favorite podcast listening app or by clicking on the link in the show notes. Please, please, please subscribe, and we will be releasing the first few episodes in a couple weeks. Thanks again for listening. Until next time.